the amazing Tracy Shea, and she is the Director of Remote Learning in Cleburne ISD. And so I am going to throw it over to Tracy to give a little introduction about herself before we begin our chat this afternoon. Tracy, take it away.
Thank you, Jeff. So I am honored to be part of this conversation with you and with Burrville and all others who participate in this learning experience. I am the Director of Remote Learning, and that title was given to me this summer to kick off our remote learning program here in Cleburne ISD. Prior to that, I was the Digital Learning Coordinator for secondary, 6th through 12th grade, and I did that for 5 years. And before that, I was a digital arts teacher for CTE, and then before that, I taught writing. So I've kind of been telling stories since the beginning, and I'm blessed to be in a position right now to help meet the needs of our remote learners within our districts and give them on-level instruction that is rigorous and worth doing.
Exactly. I'm so glad to hear your own personal teaching journey coming through, because that's really awesome that we can bring our experiences from the classroom, no matter how long ago that was, all the way up into what we do currently. And I think that makes a great connection, both with our teachers and with the kids that we help support. So very glad to have you here today. All right, so one of the things we're going to talk about, well, the big thing is online learning. Everybody is in the middle of that right now. Everybody got into online learning in very different ways. Some folks have been using it off and on in the past years before COVID, and now everybody's kind of in the middle of it during COVID. So kind of tell us a little bit about your online journey experience.
Okay, so let's go back in time to 2015-16, and that was the first year that I went into digital learning as a support for secondary teachers. And I joined Jane Flynn, who is the digital learning coordinator for elementary campuses. And we were asked, it was just the two of us at the time, to go through a vetting process of an LMS that we would start implementing district-wide the next school year. And so under the direction of our superintendent, who is a forward thinker and who is future focused today, not tomorrow, but today, we worked under the direction of Mike Wallace, our executive technology director, on determining what would be the best LMS and then what would be the best device. So that whole year was really going and doing the R&D. And so for the LMS, after Jane and I went through the process, it was quick to determine that Canvas would be the chosen learning management system. We were also looking at Google Classroom, and that's a great product, but we were wanting our kids to pivot more cleanly to post-secondary, and we felt that Canvas would be the better fit for that. And it also offers a lot of sharing and a lot of the ability to support learning as if you're wanting to see what other teachers are doing so that you can share that with other teachers. It was the better pick. And then it came down to device. Do we go with an iPad or do we go with the Chromebook? So our superintendent has, it's called SuperSAC, which is a group of children, across the district, secondary students, 6th through 12th grade. And so we got our SuperSAC to participate, and that's the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. And they meet periodically throughout the school year to give their thoughts on decisions that are being made. And so we had them trial out using iPads and using Chromebooks to get their feedback on their experience. And based on that, and what we saw with cost and just general usage, and then off, with us going with Canvas, it was decided that the Chromebook would be the better solution. So that year was devoted to picking the LMS and then picking the device, putting in the due diligence with the research that we needed to, and thus that's what we chose to do. So we had a bond that passed in 2016 that was very pivotal, and we are very thankful to our community for believing in our kids and in our educators to change this community and to innovate it and prepare it for better things, that we were able to purchase the Chromebooks that we needed district-wide to make this transition. And so we did our secondary deployment in 2017, January 2017, 6th through 12th grade in January. And prior to that, starting in the month of June, so June 2016, we knew that we needed to get our teachers trained and acclimated so that once the Chromebooks got into the hands of the students, they would be ready to start using those devices and those tools as soon as possible. And that's what we did. And so the teachers were expected to participate in monthly trainings starting in August. They could participate optionally in June if they wanted to get their device soon, but we would start in August. And then as we went to our big rollout in January, then we would start utilizing those resources that our taxpayers invested in. So you got to have a first year, and we learned a lot from it. And we continued to have training the next year on a monthly basis, really helping our teachers gain those foundational skills that you need to have to seamlessly use instructional tech with your students, and to also help with the integration of Canvas, etc. Then we ended up moving to a micro-credentialing model in 2018-19, and we've been doing that since then. So once we got the foundational skills in place with the teachers, then in 2018-19, we decreased the amount of time that they would come and visit, because it was every month. And then we went to every 6 weeks. And then we went to, you can do it face-to-face, or in 2018-19, you can do it remotely. Either one. And starting then, we were really pushing out the badging. We'd done it the year prior, but we were really pushing the badging. And the badging was based on the students and not on the teachers. So what does that mean? When the teachers did a submission, and what they would do is they would give us a Canvas link, okay? And, Jane and I were admin, so we can see it all. And on that link, it would be an assignment link. And when we'd go and click that assignment link, as long as we saw student submissions, level 3. Because for us, it wasn't about, sometimes people get focused on, let's just do an announcement, or let's do this, let's build a module, but it's more about the building, which is important. But our focus is getting it into the hands of the students and them immediately using it right now. And so is when we saw student production, that was a level 3. And then we also gave them the opportunity to get more badges for things that they wanted to do on their own. So we had some that were expected, and then we also had some that they could do, we call it the Power 6, on their own, other things that they wanted to research and do with their students. And so as far as the LMS, we use Canvas 3rd through 12th, and then second down, we use Seesaw. Seesaw is a better fit that we found for that age group, and we get feedback from our teachers too, and that's what we're using right now with second and below. And if they are in first and second, and I think, hold on, I don't know on this one, so I got to be careful what I say. I'll just say this. With our littles, they use Chromebooks, but they are touchscreen. So that's kind of our journey.
Wow, that is quite a journey. But I love how you guys had the opportunity to go and just kind of scaffold it all the way through. You did your research, you did your practice with the kids and got feedback with them. They had the input to it. I think that is amazing to know what's going to connect with them. I'm sure they gave you feedback that is, hey, let's make this better, let's make that better, or a lot of what ifs or I wonders kind of thing. And that's really amazing that you included them in on that. And I love how you scaffold the training for your teachers as well. Birdville, we had to create training and try to scaffold it and try to hit everybody's skill levels and then provide that support. Even after school's going, we're still providing support for that. And I think that's probably just part of the journey. It's going to continue that way as they sharpen their skills and they find things that they might want they might want to include or are curious about, and they come and ask us about it. I think that's just probably all part of the journey that's just kind of never ending. So thanks for sharing that. That really gives us a solid foundation of how you guys got to the level that you are in Cleburne. I noticed you're wearing a pretty snazzy hat, and I think you have something maybe that's Rally Hat Friday. Is that right? Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Rally Hat Friday. So tell me a little bit about Rally Hat Friday.
Rally Hat Friday is really about culture building, and we know that culture drives how people feel and what they do. And at the remote learning campus, which is where I am housed at with remote learning staff, and we do have remote teachers at the campuses too, but we have remote learning teachers at this campus as well. We knew it was going to be different. We were going to be doing things we'd not done before. And it was so essential that we rally on Friday. And kind of an analogy that I use is on Monday, we start at home plate. We got our bat ready. We're looking for a good pitch. We swing, we make it, we connect, and we start heading down to first base on Monday and on to second. And then on Friday, we wind up at third base and we slide into home with our Rally Hat Friday ready to go. And I can remember back in 2010 and 11, when the Rangers were in the World Series, they had a couple of things that they did, and it resonated with me then, and it still does today, that were just small things, the claw and the antlers. And so I think it's good when you have your own thing that you do with your group to build that spirit. And I also encourage the teachers to do the Rally Hat with their students, because we're looking through the parameter of a Zoom. So you're kind of limited to how creative you can get, from up here. And so I thought, you know what, Rally Hat, let's do that. We can have fun and be creative on Fridays in that way.
That's perfect.
Culture building.
That is perfect. I'm so glad that you thought of that and brought that in. I think we do see around Birdville, and probably around many school districts, trying to have that little point of connection. That's a little bit outside of education, but it can happen while you're at school, and it just brings people closer together. You're all focusing on the same things and all of that. So I think that's a great support for everybody, and just a positive thing to have happening right now. So thanks for sharing about your hat today. And
you're welcome.
Hat idea.
And it changes. It could be thematic. So, it's just whatever the mode is for the day.
Okay, awesome. Very good. Okay, so we're going to get back to our other part of our conversation now. We've learned about your journey and how you got here a little bit, but we're finding out that things are messy sometimes, right? Learning's messy. Learning new things are messy sometimes, but that's kind of okay. Give me your ideas about learning is messy.
Sometimes I find when I'm with a group of people, and most of the people I'm around are educators, that when you have that initial conversation, whatever it starts out as, there's that silence that is deafening that lasts for so long because people sometimes are still afraid to be wrong. And there's a part of me that's just cheering, like, it's okay, let's all have fun, let's just share. Um, because learning is messy. And it's not meant, we are not meant to be experts when we start. We are meant to start off not knowing what we don't know and learning through experience. And my hope is that when people realize that learning is messy and embrace it, that they will have a desire to learn more because they see the fruit at the end, versus that initial discomfort that happens at the beginning.
Yeah, that is so true. I think all teachers are in that mode of I've done everything I need to do to prep for a lesson or for a 6 weeks or for whatever, and we're very confident that it's going to go really, really well. And the more experience you have as a teacher, the more confidence you have that the things that you're thinking and the things that you're creating with your kids and everything is just really going to go well. And you're going to have a hiccup here and there, but with this new way of learning right now, the new environment we have to live in, it is something that is cause a lot of anxiety because things don't go perfectly well. The technology doesn't work sometimes, or the internet connections go down, or the online resources have issues on their end, all of which is out of our control. And it's just those things have happened a lot lately, I think, and just because lots of people around the world are having to go that direction. And so, yeah, so I'm glad that we can acknowledge and honor, yes, it's messy, and yes, we're going to make mistakes, but we're learning from every single one of them. And the kids really don't care. They're there to learn, and they're going to pick up right wherever we left off, and right where we're going to jump back into it, and they're fine with it, right?
And well, we got to have fun.
Yes.
We've got to have a sense of humor and be able to laugh at ourselves, because if we don't, the days are going to be long.
Yeah. And we're modeling for the kids. So if we can roll with it, they're going to roll with it, and it just keeps on going. So I'm down in the mess with everybody else, and I learn every day. I learned lots of things already this morning before our interview. So it just happens all the time and everywhere. So, all right. You and I talked about this phrase, living in edit mode. Let's talk about living in edit mode.
Living in edit mode means that I'm constantly evolving if I choose, and learning if I choose. And when those two things happen, I have the ability to edit who I am, what I do, and how I do it. And man, that's nice, because I don't know about you, but I'm not where I want to be. I want to keep editing the version that I'm at, and not for me, but a little bit for me, but also because I know of the impact that it has on those that are around me. And living in edit mode means that it's not about perfection. It's about excellence. It's about trying to become that version of us that is within reach, and being available to it.
Yeah, being available and open to it. And I think that's another good thing to model for kids, is just talking to them about, your work is good. Is there one more little thing you might want to do later on down the line, the next time you come across it? And, I don't want to get to the point where it's like, I'm never satisfied with what I do, because I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not perfect at all. But I feel like we can learn, this is a good thing that I've done right now, but I think there might be one thing I'll tweak for next time. And I think that's my edit mode, right? Is just, I'm going to add on to that. There's some things I feel really confident about, but I see other people or I listen to other people. I'm like, oh, that'd be great for next time. So I guess that's how I see edit mode in my head a little bit. So excellent. All right. So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit about a lifelong learner, because I think we're discovering that we know that we're lifelong learners, but sometimes we get pretty comfortable with some things, and then it comes back, hey, you still need to be a lifelong learner. So talk a little bit about that.
I feel like the pandemic has put everybody back into the reality that we are lifelong learners. There really isn't a choice to it within the remote environment that we're in, whether it's school or our personal life, and how we navigate that. And I know, and it's not just us, but our parents, our students. I mean, we're all in it together. And as a lifelong learner, you are seeking to continually grow. And sometimes the growth ratio is big, like it is right now. But the beauty of it is we're meant for that. We are meant to constantly be learning and growing as individuals. So, living and learning, and that's kind of what rings in my head this school year: living and learning.
That's perfect. And I'm so glad you brought up, not just for us, but for our students, obviously, because that's why we're working with them. But you brought up the parents as well. And I think that's a huge thing this year, because parents we've kind of helped them remember they're learners too. And I'm sure it's had to have been a struggle for them to begin to partner with us. They partnered in one way pre-COVID, right? But now it's a whole different ballgame, in the throes of COVID. And so they're having to learn these things again with the kids and partner with teachers and that kind of a thing. So I'm glad that you included them as part of those lifelong learners.
So as far as parents go, and students, I knew from the very beginning that we were going to have to support them, and not just in English, but also in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And I am blessed to have several Spanish speakers at my campus. And the initial how-to videos that we made for Zoom, and what your Canvas course should look like, and where you can go to find your Zoom connection links, and how Canvas should look within each class, videos were made to support the parents. And they were made in English and they were made in Spanish, because what I know, and I know is if people are struggling past the point of what they feel they can do, they stop. So some struggle is okay, but too much is not. And I knew that we had to be able, to support them. And they've come along. They've learned what they've needed to learn to connect to the Zoom and to navigate. And just to say, and this is going to kind of, can I segue into online course design? Is that okay?
Yes, that's where we're going next. So sure thing.
Okay. When we're thinking about online course design, and I'm going straight from my parents and my students to this, we have to think, who are the recipients of the learning? Who is the client? And the client is the student. And for remote, it's the student and the parent, and even face-to-face, because parents want to support their students. So it's important to have continuity across the district, because if you have one course looking completely different than the other, the parent and the student are going to have a hard time navigating it. And really what they want to know is, what work do I need to do? So we want to help them know where the Zoom is, where the work is, and for it to be a quick look. If it's taking us more than 10 seconds to find it, then that's not good. And so one of the initiatives that we had here was to ensure that the experience our parents would have would be the same. Now, obviously your content is going to be different, but the format is similar for the ease and use of our users.
Very good. So was there like a template that your teachers used, just kind of as a starting structure, and then they were able to put other things in it, obviously that were, related to what their content or their grade level, that kind of thing?
So good question. We do blueprinting here in Cleburne ISD, and we have a secondary template from 6th through 12th grade. And then we also have an elementary template to support that look. And what we have chosen to do with secondary is we use modules just because for time, it's very effective. And we know that you've got to have time to build it. And so we've chosen to use modules. And with course design, you've got two key things that need to be that course designers need to be mindful of: fewer clicks, fewer scrolls. So the most current needs to be at the top. And I'll tell you, and this is stuff that we've learned, our Zoom links we were putting as announcements because they go as emails to the kids. So it's kind of a cool thing. But if it's going to be the same one every time we meet, then we don't necessarily have to do that. So we've got a top module that we've developed where resources are kept. And so on that, you've got your Zoom. And I'm going to get nerdy right now with Canvas. You could make it a page and then click, and then you get to the page and then there's your Zoom. But think of how many clicks you've gone to versus it's a URL link directly to your Zoom. And here's what I've also done, because Canvas gives me the ability to do it. I put the days and the times of the Zoom on that link. So when I look at that link right at the top, it says Zoom Tuesday, Thursday, 1 to 2. I don't have to click anything but one time, and then I get onto my Zoom and I'm with my teacher. So, lessons learned, but, things that we have developed: fewer clicks at the top, easy peasy. And so each module is a week. So we do the week from the beginning of Monday to Friday with the actual numbers, putting them in. And then after that, we put what 6 weeks that we're in, because we want to keep people from having questions. What week is this? What 6 weeks is this? No, it's all there. And then underneath it, you have all of the student work and resources. And the teachers have gotten to where some of them like to do it underneath there. They'll have Monday and then what's happening, and then Tuesday. And then some of them will do the student work and then student resources within the module. So as long as they have a module, it's the week. How they want to organize it within the module is fine. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Okay, that sounds great. This sounds very efficient and compact, and I love that it's the fewer clicks, the better. It just especially with trying to keep students efficient and teachers efficient, and not confused about anything. That just sounds really great. So you and I were talking earlier about extra and basic in relationship to course design and thinking about your pages and all that. Tell me a little. Let's talk about that for just a little bit.
Okay, so extra, and that's a newer word. Typically, if someone says, "Oh, you're extra," that means that you put more time into a specific thing, whatever that thing may be. And it's easy with course design, especially with a lot of the user-friendly tools that are out there now, to spend a lot of time on the actual structure, which is important. But then what might get less time, which is the most important, is the content that goes in that course. So what should be extra should be the instruction and the resources, what we are giving to our students for them for learning, that should be extra. And the course design, it can be extra. I'm not saying that it can't. But if it's so extra that you don't have the time to build the instruction the way that it needs to be on level and rigorous, then it has to become more basic. And I feel like the more experience that you get within an LMS, the more time that you have invested in the structure and making it look a certain way. And again, that goes back to, I can't be an expert at the beginning. It takes time. But the part that I've got to focus on the most is what connects to my students, their learning. That has to be the focus. And then what weaves off of that. And as far as aesthetics go, as long as it connects to the functionality of the learning, check plus. But if it's just pretty for pretty's sake, it's missing what it needs to do for the child.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so there's an awful lot of time spent, and I think it was just because it was new and we were getting in. The course, the pages and the modules look really, really great, but I think we're starting to see that trend to exactly what you're talking about. You know, a lot of the structure is built the way that they, you know, teachers did early on, but I think they're moving towards spending more of that extra time on the content and learning new resources that can be brought in and learning the different specifics that Canvas can do that they didn't know right at the very beginning. I think that's just really kind of driving them to put that extra time in on the content and design of the instruction and that kind of thing. So I'm glad that was something you and I talked about, and I'm glad we did it during our interview today. All right, so kind of to round this out a little bit, we're looking looking kind of into the future, this remote learning and putting, look at and living our lives and that kind of thing. How do you see the future with online learning, remote learning, and just living in general?
I feel like our experiences now, while it will not be like this forever, but it is for right now, there are certain things that we have learned that we're going to take with us. And just an easy global example would be going, to a restaurant. Some of them have gone to the QR code. There may be some who don't go back from that. They just keep a QR code as the way that you can look at the menu versus printing all of those menus and keeping them clean. And the time that it takes to design it, to print it, and to maintain it. And I think we're going to find other ways similar to that, that it's easier, because we didn't have a choice. We had to figure it out for the time frame that we're in. And I feel like we're going to take some of those lessons and continue to apply it with other parts of our lives. Now, as far as learning goes, technology's there. It's there. I mean, instructional tech, it's there. And the teachers, whether they were, fully engaged or kind of engaged or not engaged, they see that it is a part of their world instructionally. And it's not going to go away. And I think the ones who have embraced it and have seen the time that they can save using it will continue to grow. And I think that, they're going to start leading the way. And, here at my campus, I've got teachers that are now leading initiatives that I'm not starting. Like one of them said, can we give digital badges? What about this Badger app? Can we integrate that? And, I'm doing all of the admin stuff along with doing some instructional tech and managing different things that I hadn't prior. And I tell them, well, tell me about it and let's look at it. And so, I do the stuff that I need to do on the back end to make it happen. And, they're developing the training, they're sharing it with each other, and they're being the teachers to one another, and who's benefiting? Our kids, because now they get those little digital badges through the Badger app, which not hard to use, promise. And if you get into it, use Spark, Adobe Spark, to make your badges. And it needs to be 400 by 400 pixels. I'm telling you things that you don't have to learn the hard way. 400 by 400 pixels. And use Spark because it already has a bunch of templates in there and icons that you can just kind of layer and recolor and resize. So just an example. And I think the teachers are going to continue to find ways to develop their craft instructionally through EdTech and share it with each other. And I think they're going to be the ones pushing it. It's going to be their own thing. And we're just going to be the support there for them, which, that learning.
Oh my gosh. So I'm so glad that that you brought up that the teachers are going to be seeing the connections with, beyond after post COVID, whatever that might look like. Teachers are already saying in Birdville, when we're going out to campuses and working with them, hey, I think I'm going to do this next year. I think I'm going to incorporate this into our workstations. I think I'm going to use this online thing because now I see that I've hooked the kids, that they really are interested in their, whatever that might be. And those kinds of comments are just growing over the last few weeks. And it just made me so happy because it was so hard at the beginning of the year. And, when is this going to end? And is it ever going to get any easier? And and you said it, they're teaching one another. What are you doing in your room? How did you make that happen? And, they're calling the digital learning people like myself to come out and let's talk about this more. And the Badger, it's beautiful you brought that up because I've got 3 teachers now wanting to learn more about this Badger thing. And thanks for the Adobe Spark tip. That's awesome. So we're going to make sure to write that down and share.
Hey, I've got a teacher presentation I can drop in the chat.
Oh, there we go. Throw that in there. So the teachers are asking about those things that they are noticing in Canvas, like Badger, and they're relying on one another because, we cover a lot of campuses, so we are not there every day. And so you hit it right on the head. They are, the teachers are really learning a lot, even though they were forced to learn a lot. And now they're partnering with one another a little bit more. They're collaborating a little bit more. And across the district, our teachers have friends, that are in other schools across the district, and they're just pulling all these things in. And the comments, some comments we get are, I heard this person's doing it at this other school. Oh, how do I make that happen over here? So I love that they're learning from one another. And I love that I'm hearing the comments about, this is what I'm thinking about next year already. I think I found a fit for this. And the other part too, like you said, ed tech is here, but the tech part is here as well. Not all campuses had, or even districts had the amount of equipment that they do now because of what we're living through right now. And I think that might have been one of the hesitations for teachers to jump in and try things, is the amount of equipment. And now that they have that, I think they're like, oh, okay, maybe I can do these things. So I'm super proud of them jumping in and doing, not only in our district, but in all the districts. I'm super proud of them for jumping and doing that.
And Jeff, just to kind of segue real quickly off of something you said, the tools. Mm-hmm. I feel like district leadership has really gleaned a lot through this and have learned that it's important to have the same device for certain age groups and the same LMS for certain age groups, because you've got to be able to support it. And then the teachers have to be, they need to be able to have that collaboration between each other. And if they're using different resources, it's hard to have that collaboration. So I feel like people have learned that ultimately it comes down to instruction. It comes down to instruction. And when we can make the tech part and the implementation of that part easier, then we can get straight to what we want to do, and that's teach kids.
That's perfect. And I'm gonna go off of that just a little bit and shout out not only to the Birdville administrators, but administrators everywhere. They have supported the ideas. They have found the money for tools and equipment, and found creative ways to make time for teachers to be able to plan, to be able to do online instruction as well as face-to-face. Just the support that has developed out of all of this. I just want to throw a huge shout out for administrators everywhere for partnering and listening and finding the resources and the time and the money to let our teachers do their thing. And it makes me happy to be an educator. So
yes, sir.
Tracy, I want to thank you for joining us today on our 12 days. It's been an amazing conversation, and I feel like an uplifting as well as an educational one. I think we spoke about a lot of things that honor the work that our teachers have done and our kids have done in order to survive and learn and continue to grow, even in an environment that we are in right now.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm honored that you guys reached out to me to participate in this. And I just wanted to tell all of the educators who are listening, we need you. You're special. You are changing the world. And if you have felt that this was really difficult this year, we all did, but we're in this together. And the fruit that we're going to have off of this year, I don't know that we even know the capacity of it, but it's coming. So thank you for being in the trenches, for working hours that probably many of us haven't worked before. Thank you. And just as a final note, it's all about living and learning. So let's just keep on doing it. And remember, we've got to have a sense of humor with this, because we want to enjoy what we do. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.